In this short video, we will be talking about grading in Google Classroom. First, we're going to review Google Classroom's gradebook features. Then we will talk about the advantages of topics, both using them to organize and evaluate data using Schoolalytics, but also in organizing information so it can be quickly filtered both as a teacher and for students. We'll talk about grade categories, how to add them and use them, and how they could be useful to you. We'll talk about rubrics, creating them, editing them, sharing them, and we're going to talk about Google's comment bank feature and how that can help you with those common messages that you repeatedly find yourself needing to communicate with students. As we are getting ready to think about grading and giving feedback to students and are keeping data for ourselves this year, it's helpful to do a little bit of thinking about that before you get started for the year. So let's take a moment to review the gradebook features that Google Classroom provides. On the left, you will have your students. And then in each column, you will have an assignment. So you'll have the due date of the assignment up at the top. You'll have whatever you titled the assignment. Next, underneath that, if you use grade categories, you'll have the beginning of which grade category that is to help you organize your data. And then you'll have out of how many points that you've assigned this. And it's helpful to think about how you want to use your gradebook because you're going to want to go into settings and make some decisions before you get started with students to help make this data useful. I find using grade categories to be helpful for instructional decisions and maybe even collecting data for my growth goal each year. Now, each column, as I go down, I can see the data that I have put in. So a green indicates a score that I have put in but have not returned the work to students. Red indicates this is missing work. Black indicates that this has been returned. There is now a grade and it has been returned to students. Now, if I want to work with the entire assignment, I go to the top of the column here on these three dots. I can edit the actual assignment, which is helpful. I can just jump into it, make changes. I can delete it. If I have edits in here from the top here, I also have the option to return to all. So I can return, I can go through here and give grades to every student and with one click, return all of the work to students, which is very helpful. But once again, it's really helpful to think about how you're going to use your grade categories at the time that you're setting up your gradebook for the year. Now that you've thought about how you would use grade categories, we're going to set them up in settings. So use this icon right here. Looks like a little gear. You click it, and it doesn't matter which page of classwork in Google Classroom you're on. You just click it. It'll take you to your settings, and then you can go right in here, and you have the option to set up your grading. So your first setting here is overall grade calculation. I choose no overall grade because I focus on standards-based grading. You also could look at total points, or you could weight categories if you had a need to do that. Then you set up your grade categories here. You just click on add a grade category. You type in what you want it to be, like maybe you're focusing on summarizing the text, or you want to focus on a particular piece of grammar. You could put it in here, whatever you find that would be helpful to you. Then you're going to save it. As we're thinking about creating our grade categories, this might be an opportunity to really think about those priority standards. For example, in fifth grade, I'd be looking at writing information and explanatory text. So maybe I want to make a grade category for that priority standard. Once I've set up the grade category, of course, once again, it's really important to save it. That way, when you go in to create your assignments, those categories will be there for you. Go to a particular assignment and I'm working on it, or when I'm creating an assignment, I can just click that option. So when I'm creating an assignment, I put my title here, put my instructions, I can attach any assignment. Over here, I have grade categories. And since I programmed in my categories, I have a drop-down list to choose from to help me organize my data. I also have online topics. Topics are really useful for both organizing information for students and also for tracking your bigger categories that you might want to put on a report card, say like opinion writing for me. So I might put a topic of opinion writing, and then in classwork,
or your student clicks on classwork, they have the topics over here, and by clicking on a topic, it will filter the information. So if we want information about our narrative writing, we click here and we get our narrative writing posts, assignments, information, all organized. If you want to see help topics that have been posted to help us, they would all be organized or filtered here, no matter when they were posted. So your stream is posted by the date you post it. You can move stuff up. You have the option to move something to the top, but for the most part, it's going to be organized. So it's by when you posted it, so it's a little bit difficult for students to find work. But if you choose classwork and you've created some topics that your students and yourself can navigate quickly to a particular piece of information, and that can be very helpful. In addition, the school district has purchased some software called Schoolytics. It makes your Google Classroom data visual to help make decisions for your classroom. Here are a couple of screenshots to see how this relates to the topics in Google Classroom. All staff already have accounts, and if you wish to find out more, please check out the optional videos in our trailhead. One other thing that you want to remember about Google Classroom is the option here in your gradebook to either go to a student and immediately return work to them if you need to, or if you want to go to a student's work, you can also go straight to the actual submission that they've turned in for that particular piece by just clicking right there, which is very helpful and immediately gives you access to your ability to grade if you're using rubrics with the rubrics, or to post private comments, or you can even use your comment banks to comment right here with comments right in the Google Doc, which are all very helpful. All right, now that we've talked about Gradebook, the value of assigning topics, and about grade categories, let's look about creating, editing, and sharing rubrics. All right, so I'm going to create a rubric here for this assignment where I'm analyzing the text features and structures of two different texts. I'm just going to use a simple T-chart with students, but I want to be able to give them good feedback on each text and how well they identified different text features and structures of the two different texts. So to create that rubric, I'm just going to click right over here where this plus rubric is, and I'm going to choose the option from the drop-down menu to create a rubric. So the first thing I'm going to do is think of a criterion title. In this case, I think I'm going to focus in on the title of the book that I'm going to have students talk about for the first column of the T-chart. And then for the criterion description, I'm going to put in a real specific description of what I'm going to be asking students to do. Here, I think I'll decide the number of points it's worth and a level. Maybe I'll make this my proficient level of performance. Then I'll give a description of exactly what does it look like to be proficient at this skill here where it says description. And I can add other levels, like so maybe I am showing growth towards being proficient. So I would start another one for that, and I can add again here. If I want to have a criteria for the other books, I can click down other book. I can click down here just to create a new criterion altogether. You also have the option right here to duplicate the criterion you've already created or delete it, and you'll be able to move your criterion up and down within your rubric by selecting these two options. The duplicate criterion function is very useful when you are doing very similar things. So like on an essay, if I was going to have one for the introductory paragraph, one for body paragraphs, and one for the conclusion, I could very easily duplicate that criteria and make this small changes to the descriptions of what each level would look like for the different tasks involved. Once I'm done with my rubric, I'm going to save my rubric. I'm now ready to post my assignment and grade and give students feedback. So when we go into our assignment creation page and we're setting up our assignment, remember to think about the title so you can easily find a rubric to reuse it. So if I'm your assignment, you're going to go in here where you have this option and you're going to hit plus. Now you have the object to create a rubric. You also have the object to reuse a rubric. And this is where some of those naming of assignments can be really helpful for you, because if you choose the reuse assignment, you're going to have a box that opens up like this. Up here, you're going to have a drop-down menu for your different classes, so you can go to which class you want to pull the rubric from. But it's going to actually list the title of the assignment the rubric was attached to, not the rubric name. So you need to know which assignment you want to get the rubric from if you want to reuse it this way. So naming your assignments, it can be helpful to have a system for finding that quickly. You can also choose to import your rubric. So you've gotten that Google spreadsheet that you received. So you're going to choose import. So your spreadsheets are going to open up here. You'll be able to choose the spreadsheet and click add. And this is going to add your the rubric to your new assignment. So if you've already created a rubric, you'll see the rubric right here. You can click the button. You can go in and see what you've done. If you click on the three dots, you'll have the option to edit your rubric or to export it to Sheets. If you choose to edit it, it gives you the option to go in here and change the criterion titles, add a description, adjust your points and your level titles and your descriptions of the expectations you're asking for students. If you export it to Sheets, it's going to create a Google spreadsheet that you could then share with another teacher so that they could upload it into their classroom. You're going to get a spreadsheet that looks just like this. You want to be careful not to make changes to any of the information in here because you do not want to mess it up, but you can easily share this like any other Google document to any other teacher, and then they will be able to upload this rubric into their Google Classroom and use it with their students. Now that we have talked about rubrics and how to create, edit, or share them, let's look at the next feature Google Classroom provides for grading, how to use Google Classroom's comment bank. So to add to your comment bank, if you have comments that you are routinely having to give students, you just hit the plus right here and you can type any message that you repeatedly give to students and you can add it. They'll appear over here in your comment bank. Now you can use your comments in a couple of different ways. One is just on any Google document. You can just use the regular comment feature that you can click here to add a comment. And if you use the hashtag, if you type the hashtag into your comment box here, you get your list of your comments so that you can just select whichever comment you want to post. And then you can hit the comment button to save it for your students. With your mouse and drag, like you're going to highlight a piece of text and you'll get the little add a comment button. So you can click that. And once again, you just type the hashtag into there and you'll get your drop down menu when you're in the Google document to go ahead and choose a comment, pick the comment you want. It's in there and just hit the comment button to post it to the student. Comment banks in different Google documents that are attached as assignments. You could also use the Google comment bank to add a private comment. So if you have one of your comments here, you just copy it to your clipboard and then you can hold down Control-V to paste it in, or you can right click and choose the paste command and then you just post it to the student.
All right, now that we have set up our gradebook and created a rubric and posted an assignment using a grade category, what a student will see is the title of your assignment up here. Then they'll see the grade category that you have selected for it and the due date. they will see the number of points it's worth and the directions. If you are using a rubric, they will also see the rubric categories here. And you can see these are blanked out now, but they're worth the points. And after grading, you'll see the value of that. But if they click the little caret here, they can also see what it means to meet a different level of performance.
All right, now that we've seen what it would look like for the student, from the teacher's point of view, once you open up the assignment and you are going to grade, you have the student's work over here, and you have your comment bank here, and on your grading tab here, you have the total number of points students are going to have. You have the option to change the total number of points if you feel like there's an appropriate reason. You have the rubric here, and you can score it by just clicking a box. I think this is a proficient score. I can just click that. If I have forgotten what the criterion was, I can look here, I can open it up, and I can see that. If that's not the easiest way for me to do this, I can click this right here, which will open up the rubric on its own page where I see the whole thing out, and I can carefully view the criterion and the performance indicators. When I'm ready, once again, I click over here and put in what I think is the appropriate scores. And then when I'm all done with that, I'm going to go ahead and once I've decided, I'm going to return this to students. I can put my comments in here or comments here. It's important to remember that I can just use the hashtag to pull my comment bank up if I do it right inside here, which is very helpful. And then I'm just going to return it to the student so the student can get my feedback.
All right, now that the teacher's grades have been returned to the student can open up the assignment again, and they can look right in here where the student will see right down here. They will see the points that they received. Once again, they can open it up to see exactly what they did here to meet it. They can also see private comments the teacher gave them here, and they can open up their work itself and look here for that information. The other great thing for students is they can look in on their classwork tab here, and they can look at their work here, which once again can be filtered by the assignments as they're completed, one of them being returned. Notice that the student never turned it in, but they still have received a grade because the teacher graded it and returned it to them. The student can get back to this by clicking right here, and it shows up as graded.
It's also helpful to remind students that when they turn in work, it changes the permissions, so they cannot edit it. But if they go right here and they click unsubmit, then they would be able to edit their document. All right, now that you have had an opportunity to review all of the great tools and features that Google Classroom provides you to use data and to give feedback to students, this would be a great opportunity to start thinking about how you could use your grade categories and rubrics and the comment bank to both give feedback to students, but also to simplify your planning of instruction. I personally like to use the grade categories to track students' growth towards meeting a standard. And when I have evidence that they're meeting the standard, then giving the assessment and then putting the assessment data into Skyward for my report cards. Thank you. I hope you find this information helpful this school year.